this, like a child would think. Now here's this God, he's always broke. And like them Koreans said, you know what, I was doing URD radio station a couple years ago on Severe Show, and they were had the so-called black community leader guys in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas complaining about Koreans and other Asiatics in the so-called black community taking all the resources out of the black community and controlling the black hair products stuff, which was a $9 billion a year business, and they feel as though they deserve some of the action of their own stuff, women buying their spouse's hair and eyelashes and braids and whatever, and hair grease, whatever. Anyway, to cut the story short, they was coming on they would have a campaign coming on the radio complaining about the blacks and Negroes. As a matter of fact, one of the boycotts took place right there on Girard Avenue, 52nd and Girard. And, you know, protesting against the Asiatics and stuff like that. So anyway, so the Asiatics did a report. They did a report and, you know, a comeback. And they said, you know, if our people want to deal with international trade, they'll show them, you know, but they're not nationals. They choose, you know, to deal with these code systems. They build bars and churches. You know, and then they did a research report that on the East Coast alone, every year in the churches and all these storefronts and all these other churches, they collect over $9 billion a year in the name of the Lord. They say, you do what you want to do with your money, we do what we want to do with our money. If you want to make international trade, you act like any other nation and do trade with the rest of the nations. We don't owe you anything, we're serving you while you won't serve yourselves. You know, they start talking about races. And they was telling the absolute truth. Now, think about this. Just on the East Coast, this is every year, $9 billion, we already know it's fiat, to all these so-called houses of God in our so-called community, just our community. And they got not a thing to show for it, and they complain about other people selling them some else's hair that they willingly buy because they won't set up nothing themselves. They won't set up no civic organizations whatsoever. They just build bars and churches, and then they want to complain about being broke. And Reverend Jones is walking around with $3,000 suits, a Paris, 3 cars, goes to the Bahamas every week that Jesus is half with Bertha who sings with the choir. And then lie to the people and tell the people that Jesus got a bank account at Chase Manhattan like the rest of the world knows that's not true. And then we'll complain about somebody doing business in their community because they won't set up business. Yeah. They're not subject to the black codes. They don't agree to be black and yellow people. So they don't come under the black codes. So they don't have that burden. Ain't that our responsibility? Don't we keep agreeing to be black? Yeah. Well, that's what black codes is for. Are we black? No. But do we keep agreeing to be black? Yes. And then we have people run around in the name of the Lord promoting it. While in secret, they Masons. Got a Moorish fez, pretending they don't know these people are Moors. Eastern Stars, daughters of ISIS and daughters of everything. Got fezzes and act like they don't know their people are Moors. Come out and talk about these people are black. And in secret, study root them all Moabites. You know, the rest of the world know these people are hypocrites. So the point of it is that the Koreans wasn't taking that hit. But after that, the campaign kind of stopped, kind of dwindled out, because they caught them. They expect them to talk some kind of color game. No, they did research. And bought up the records. Y'all giving over $9 billion to these churches and houses of God every year. What do you have to show for it? You doing what you want to do. Tell us what to do with our money. Now, if you want to do international trade, do like other nations do. Trade with the rest of the world. But you don't want to be a nation. That ain't what they said, but that was the implication. Y'all want to be black? We can't make you not be, we can't make you be what you don't want to be. You build those churches and bars. They cross street from each other all the time.
Exactly.
No, it's in, throughout our communities. Oh, yes. And that's true. Oh, hold this one. Let me get this. Let me transfer this stuff. But go ahead. What's the question?
Grand Sheik, don't know with this estoppel letter. Did you send that off to the CDO of the bank, and which courts did you send it to? The municipal
You appeal it,
court?
or you send it to the magistrates, the
Custodians,
sheriffs,
custodians of alien
and
property.
any of the other culpable operators.
Securities and Exchange Commission,
Yes, yes. Go ahead, name them. Dave.
custodians of alien property,
That'd be
which is,
Secretary of State.
and the Secretary of State. Because, you know, like in the Attorney General, those are the Attorney Generals. They have, the Attorney Generals are the custodian of alien property, which is ours, and you send that off to them. You send it off to the Secretaries of State, Washington, and the particular area you're located in. And I just thought about this, the Securities and Exchange Commission, because they're securitizing things here.
Yes.
They have no authority to securitize, all right? And they're monetizing stuff, so they are invading, you know, into that territory, and they can be.
Your estate.
Yes, your estate, and then the controller of currency, the comptroller of currency.
COMP.
Yeah, comptroller of currency, and let's see, and I suggest you start getting this stuff off soon, because they're going to be September 23rd. You know that they won't have a budget at all. I'm just saying the energy that we expend on these things, it raises the vibration anyway. So just start working on it, and you know, sending that, you know, that will to change and reestablish, or to claim that vast estate that is ours. All right. So you know, just work on it. Just, you know, that mind power, because you know the 7 principles of what am I trying to say?
Jurisdiction.
Yeah, 7 principles of jurisdiction, and that mind is the first principle with regard to, you know, what am I trying to say here? I can't get it out. Can't think. Yeah, but you know, correspondence, rhythm, generation, those principles, you know. So yeah, and you know, an accuser must be a living, breathing person, you know.
Living, breathing. Keep this in mind. One of the major things that everybody wants to be clear on: stop trying to talk to the corporate entities.
Right.
Always talk to a living man or woman and tell them to prove their claim against your estate. Like if you're in one of those tribunals, you always ask, who's the living man or woman in this room that has claim against my estate, or alleges claim against my estate?
And then I use coordinates rather than addresses. I use coordinates, and you can put it in.
Yes, always do coordinates.
You can put it in the address, put it in, and it'll give you the coordinates. You know, so like where I domicile, it's like 40 and 70, 40 degrees north, 75 degrees west. So you know, you look because that establishes the estate, as opposed to those corporate constructs that they have created, you know, fraudulently to those corporate constructs. Like
Because
this
the corporate construct is theirs.
state of
It just
Pennsylvania.
needs you to agree that it is. Distinguish.
Yeah, saying the state of Pennsylvania as opposed to our vast estate, the Moorish dominions. This is ours. This vast estate belongs, but we're custodians. That's number one, and stewards. We don't own anything. We're custodians and stewards of this, and heirs and beneficiaries of this. But you must do it in honor, because if you don't do it in honor, it gets taken away. Islam.
Islam.
Sheik, another question.
Thanks, sister. Actually, I got two questions. The first one is, I was here a couple of weeks ago, how to file, you mentioned on the 18th, how to file a Trover conversion suit against the city. Remember I was talking about they trying to tax some vacant property fees on my father's property and saying you owe $27,000.
Well, it's got to be in the state, and you got to claim attack on your estate.
Okay, now that's under the Trover conversion you were talking about, right?
Well, that would be your suit. That would be the name of the suit.
Trover conversion, right. And who would I file that with? The Superior Court or what?
Same people. Then
This-
you do a reversion of estate, claim of estate, and you do a Trover suit against whoever's making a claim, living man or woman.
Okay, well, in other words, would be the mayor of the city and the city
What's
of,
his name? What's her name?
Michael
That's an office.
Walensky.
Well, that's what you're talking about.
Okay, okay, now that's number one, okay. Second question would be on, I did a non-per-ton on the bus accident I had in DC. Remember where, they hadn't gave me, discovery, but they asked for my discovery and I did a non-per-ton, meaning I want mine before theirs so I can file proper briefs and all. They accepted my non-per-ton. They file stamped it for the August 11th, but they put a little X across it and sent it back to me and said, well, we need your signature again right here. I signed like down the bottom. In other words, they needed my signature where I had typed that, my name in typewritten. So I signed it again. I sent it back to them. They sent that back. They sent that on the August the 2nd. I sent it back to them, certified a week later, cut through the chase, August 11th. They sent it back to me after asked me to send it back to me to sign. When I signed it and sent it back to them, they sent it back again. The clerk of court said, I cannot accept this because there was a mandate. But a mandate by who? They never said by Judge Taj, or just use that example, Judge Walter or who. They just said it was a mandate. I can't accept this now from you. But after previously accepting it, file stamping it, and then sending it back, oh, you forgot to sign here. You're supposed to sign here. Put a little X where I'm supposed to sign my name. I sign my name, send it back to them. Then I get a letter, oh, we can't accept from the file clerk. I can't accept this now, but you accepted it, stamped it, and told me to sign my name. And then when I signed my name, send it back. Now you're saying I can't accept this. But I got nothing, as it said, only thing it said is a mandate was issued. But what mandate? I don't have a mandate from Judge so-and-so or nobody. So it's some fraud and trickery, which I know. I already know that. But what would be my recourse, brother man, for that?
What occurs when a clerk does not file records? It's called interfering with evidence, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Tampering with evidence. Tamper with evidence.
For some reason, this flash drive being second.
We got people listening live.
Oh, go ahead.
We're not just having a dead space and
Go ahead.
not using it for personal time. You need
I
to talk
was
to,
getting the mic for you so you can answer it.
he has the mic right there.
Oh, just answer.
And
What's next?
whatever you want to say to, because you got folks listening. I don't think Taj can really address personal issues in this venue like that. You know, I understand what you're trying to say, but you're not going to get the answer that I know, but I'm just saying.
He was just addressing what you do about evidence. He was on the chain of thought.
Okay, yeah, but I'm just trying to tell you, and because we got people, we want to be more general, more broad. You can talk to them offline when we close, for your personal specifics, personal issues. I would hope that we can do that. Islam. There is a question though here online. Someone wanted to know whether or not you could identify the papal bull that, make sure, let me read it correctly. The papal bull that label everything Moorish to now be Spanish?
This is, go do research in world war records. Now look up the Spanish Inquisition, Boniface III, and then look up Unum Sanctum, and essentially we're declared dead at sea until proven otherwise.
What?
And you'll see that the Spanish Inquisition is the Inquisition against the Moors. And then just do all the other research. As a matter of fact, start going into, any rare books or any books here on Spain, Al-Andalus, the Red House, where Michelle went, and it'll reveal itself. And this is back to the problem that we have being small-minded, and by when you have the people or the heirs of the estate think that human beings are crayons, until you can get them to stop acting like little boys and girls and thinking that human beings are crayons. It's sort of like, if they're in that state of mind, there's nothing that you can tell them, because they're incompetent and they're stateless persons. So go in the ordinary dictionary. First you go in the ordinary dictionary. You've got a decent dictionary, not a paperback. Go look up black, what these people think they are, and you'll see it's an adjective. Then look right beneath it and you'll see a compound word, black or more, and then they'll take the adjective off it and tells you more, any dark-skinned man, woman, or child. It's in an ordinary dictionary. Then you go do research on the Spanish Inquisition and you'll see that word was Spanish was used to hide Moorish history. Then you go into Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand of Aragon and Castile, merging their kingdoms after their marriage, and their major focus was to defeat the Moors, and after that, they were able to come into the Western Hemisphere. And they'll give you a piece of history talking about Columbus after they defeated the Moors. Then Pedro the Moor navigated the Nino, and then he went to the Atlantis Islands. That's the last of the Atlantis Islands. That would be Puerto Rico, Dominica, Haiti, etc., that area. And of course, they killed most of the people on the islands, and they gathered Moors from around the other territories and repeopled the islands, and they used the young women as sex slaves, the young girls. And this is why many of your people or Taino tribes of Moors have lighter skin, because the young girls were used as sex slaves. However, they're still Moors. They'll refer to themselves as Moros. And so a lot of people, by not understanding linguistics and not understanding history, have been trained that Moorish Latin is Spanish. This is why a lot of times they say Latino, which is a fiction. That's the language, Moorish Latin. And they hide Moorish history under Spanish. And once you do research, you'll see it yourself. As a matter of fact, you'll call in and share more information with us, as well as your family members.
Wow. And then there's one other question, and this is all.
Whose flash drive is this? Who gave me this flash drive? Because this flash drive is,
Ain't no good?
no, it keeps failing. For some reason, it keeps failing.
Someone is asking what your feeling is about weather modification. And
Say again?
weather modification, I'm assuming they're
Oh,
talking
HAARP and
about what's
etc.
going on with HAARP and Hurricane Harvey.
That's not new stuff. That stuff is old. That's been going on since the 40s. That's been going on for 40. If you study world history, you'll already know that Rome put the world back over 500 years. The advantage that the Romans have, or that the Europeans have over the Asiatic nations, the source of their power, they're referred to as Renaissance men. And they're actually ruling you with your own knowledge. And so whatever they tell you in the John D. Rockefeller associations, they're already 100 years ahead. So that's number one. And so even again, as we were saying before, a lot of things that we're teaching people now, we're really just clearing them, preparing them for the smash of information and technology that they're getting ready to be hit with, to catch up.
Here's another question. When working a job in commerce, whereas one is obtained and signed an application under your new national name, doesn't that put them back under the U.S. corporation? That's the question.
Well, yeah, don't you say all rights reserved? Don't you start treating them as trustees? Don't you start treating them as trustees? Talking to them, as their trustees?
That's the answer.
When you talk about what's to come, this is my question.
Yeah.
I guess me coming from having been a pastor and dealing with the spiritual side of people's lives, I feel that where all of this knowledge is very, very important, knowledge of self and knowledge of the past, so we don't, repeat those mistakes, knowing what's going on, being aware, is just a part of what needs to be addressed, because there's a spiritual side that when one knows who they are spiritually and is able to reclaim those abilities.
Let's be clear. Why and how is it that the people keep getting messed up? Number one, spirit and spirituality means breath.
Right.
And they're being prepared to activate the cell memory. And you know, and I know, and we know that the masses do not get Eastern mind instructions on spirituality.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
There's an assumption, not unlike people assuming they have money and don't. They keep assuming they have spirituality and therefore certain things are in place, which absolutely are not in place.
Absolutely.
You know, you just ask the average person when they're claiming to be spiritual, whether they're Muslim or Christian, because these are major tags that are put on most people in subcategories. Ask them to name the 7 golden candlesticks in the book of Revelation, name the degrees of each one, name the names of the lords, the colors, and the alchemy, energies, metals of each one. And if they can't tell you that, don't talk about Jesus.
Go But what I was going to say is,
I'm just saying, and same thing with Muslims who make the Hajj, who go counterclockwise around Kaaba, the cube. The same questions. Name the candles, because they're symbolic. Name each candle, name its position, which planet it represents, the holy name of that planet, the degrees of its path, and its colors, etc., and the color scale. And if they can't, they nothing personal, they got dogma. Understand that the priesthood have not really been teaching the people religion, they've been teaching them dogma and secularism. When it comes to Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings will Allah be upon him, said there shall be no secularism in Islam. They got about 78 of them. So there's assumptions that a lot of people have that are just incorrect. Yeshua came amongst his own. Hair like lamb's wool, skin like burner's breast. They put a Roman up on the wall and say that is Jesus. They don't even know there's no J in Hebrew. There's no J in Aramaic. If the one that they call Jesus walked into most of those houses that claim to represent him, his greeting would be Assalamu alaikum. Most of them would throw him out on his head. Them same people that claim to love him. That's his greeting in Aramaic, which is the language he spoke. His greeting was, peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Opposite of what most of them claim. They actually hate him. They're Constantinians, claiming or hiding behind the word, the name Jesus. This is known by all scholars.
I think
a lot of questions people have, though valid, are an assumption that they've arrived at a certain conscious level that does not really exist with them.
I wasn't even going there, but there are higher levels, more esoteric knowledge that we've never gotten.
Religion is Gnostic philosophies. Spirituality is the breathing techniques that go with the philosophies to train you to activate your cell memory, etc., which will include meditations and stuff like that, but it's basically breathing techniques. So when people keep assuming that religion is spirituality, that's always been a false assumption. And all rabbis know it's a false assumption, all imams know it's a false assumption, all high priests know it's a false assumption, all philosophers know it's a false assumption. The only ones that don't know it's a false assumption are believers who've been trained to think they've arrived. They've been played.
My point. Here's my point.
Yeah.
In what's coming,
Yeah.
when you have this higher degree of knowledge of self and the higher knowing what you're made of and how to escape, a lot of things you talk about, things are coming that a lot of people are not going to be able to deal with.
Oh yeah.
It is, I don't know whether we're gonna call it, well, it's true religion, but it's knowing
Well-
these esoteric practices that we've not been privy to. I mean, I study a lot.
This is
that are
what's
gonna
actually,
would help
this
people.
let me put it another way. The Earth planet is going at this time into the center of this galaxy. Coming to the center of this galaxy. And the vibration is changing. For instance, like in the Bible, the Quran, the Waspi, the Pentateuch, Hexateuch, etc., it will talk about like the New Age or the coming again of Jesus, all of these, or the ascension. All of those are relative to the same thing. The vibrational rate of the planet will heighten. If the people aren't harmonic, they will not be able to stay here.
True.
Now, to put it bluntly and in layman's terms, that would be about it. We know that souls are transferable. They're energy packages.
Right.
Now, a lot of things that people have been told in the name of religion has been false. 90% of what people have been told by the priesthood is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so when people think that they go to mosque, church, and synagogue and that they know what's up, no, they do not, and that's not personal against them. They've been played. You know, and so what information in general is for is to give them somewhat informational foundation to liberate them. If they're not willing to handle it, it's all right. If they don't want it, that's all right. Because in short order, Mother Nature, meaning that if you present to someone the truth and they reject it, there's nothing wrong with that. So let's not think wrong and right. However, they're not going to be on this planet. Because this stuff is going to be cleaned up, whether they like it or not, whether I like it or not, or whether they're ready or not. They need to understand when they were told about the ascension, or the coming again of Jesus, that means coming again of the Son into the place it was millennia ago. And the reality is that under the Aquarian light, the darkness cannot live. And they will choose sides. And they will learn what their mother brought them here for. The best way to know is to go to Ezekiel's wheel, or what you say, go to your north and south node of your circle, which is called the church. That's the circle. Right? Or your zodiac constitution. Learn why your mother brought you here. Get back in harmony with it. And if you're not, that's still fine, but you're not going to be here. Now, it's just that simple. Now, aside from that, technologies that have been held back from you for generations by the popes of Rome will be exposed to the world at large. The priesthood will be exposed on all fronts, all institutions. All right. All institutions that have been supporting the Unum Sanctum policy will collapse. The instruments that they put before the world, buying and selling with that mark, will be dead paper. Not unlike what you see in The Wizard of Oz when you see that house, fall on the wicked witch and her stockings curl up. Same thing. So all the instruments that they created for their fraud, they can do it all they want to. It's not going to matter. And those who have supported Rome will find themselves ostracized. They feel comfortable now because they know that Rome has demonstrated the power. What Rome has been doing in these last centuries is proving everybody's idol gods as worthless. Proving, it is like when that European said to one of these Asiatics that was, a brother was showing me a private video, I think it was about a year ago when I was in New York, where the Asiatics was talking to the European, calling them racist and stuff like that, and God don't like ugly, you know, there was kind of conversation. And the European said, the only proof that you got that you can really back up is, number one, whatever God you like, he don't like black people because you keep losing, and he helps everybody kick your asses. And you keep paying for it. That's the proof that you have. And the European walked away. Always trying to prove that your God is all-powerful. The only proof you got is that he keeps letting you get your ass kicked. And clearly he doesn't like you. And guys are calling racist and whatever. But the deal is, something to think about, isn't it?
It is. Here's a question that's come across. Someone is asking if you could talk about the Treaty of Verona 1213 and the Jesuits of Rome. I know you've
The
done
Treaty
it.
of Rome, did you give me a talk to that, or do you have to talk? Oh, all right. Rather than talk, let's go to it, so that we can see it and understand that all scholars have this, and of course it's congressional records, so it's no really no big deal. But when people act like scholars or people in these different houses, churches and mosques and synagogues pretend that they don't know this stuff, politicians and council people, people only believe this. Children or people who don't read keep buying. Because remember, people who go by what they're told or beliefs don't deal with facts. So these are facts. House of Representatives, right? Right? So it's congressional record, right? All right, notice the date. Consider that date and consider the establishment of the IRS and the Federal Reserve. So let's look at Article 3 and let's everybody read the clergy's secret oath that ain't so secret. Convinced, Article 3, convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in a state of passive obedience. What are they admitting right there? That what the people think they get in the name of religion is to keep them passive. They're being used. Which they owe to their princes. Did I say to the Lord? The high contracting parties declare to be their intention to sustain in their respective states those measures which the clergy may adopt with the aim of ameliorating their own interests. You see why they keep telling the believers to buy them $60 million planes and all this other stuff? With no conscience? They're ameliorating their own interests. Intimately connected with the preservation of the authority of the princes, and the contracting powers join in offering their thanks to the Pope. Does that say J-E-S-U-S? For what he has already done for them, and solicit his constant cooperation in their views of submitting the nations. So they talk about they delivering these people to Jesus and to God. They're delivering them to the popes of Rome. And everybody knows that, but the dumb believers that keep paying for their own enslavement. And they're going to tell you about that Bible. Or about the Quran. They're full of doo-doo. And people don't have the guts to tell them to their face the hypocrites that they are. That's why a lot of people who come in our communities don't feel sorry for us taking advantage and taking the economics out. Because we're full of doo-doo. Because the same clergy is really working for the popes of Rome, screwing you, and you sitting around blaming Jesus for it. With blessings that you don't damn get. There's always one of these days in his time, but you never get it. Everybody else doing good but you. Even in your own damn community. And when you sit around and talk to your children about salvation, all they see is death, jail, and drugs, and broken families. These hypocrites in the name of Jesus, in the name of Allah, in the name of Muhammad, people are talking about salvation, and they're full of crap. Then they turn around, the IRS takes all their stuff. And then after these women raise their children struggling, they take them to wars, murdering other people in other countries, and kill them off. But they saved. They're full of doo-doo. Well, there's your clergy's oath. Now let them argue with that.
Facts.
Those are facts.
Facts.
And the whole world knows it. Why do you think nobody trusts or believes in so-called black people? Because they're looked at as scathing hypocrites that are dangerous, not only to themselves, but the rest of the civilized world. They refuse to honor their mothers and fathers. Some are under the black codes, but they themselves keep on funding it. In the name of Jesus. They're full of crap. How about that, y'all?
Question.
Yeah, go ahead. Loud enough since you don't have the mic. Make sure.
Well, they got the mic. When the Moorish nationality was taken in 1774, was that across the board?
No, remember all of these things, not unlike the fall of the Alhambra, were systematic, but they used certain years as what you call access points. Just like the Moorish Empire didn't fall in 1492, but 1492 is used as a historical access point of the transfer of the Moorish powers into the hands of the Dutch, the German Dutch. All right, so the Western Hemisphere, though you have parties coming back and forth from around the world, in this whole period of time, you use 1492 as the Axis year. And the Axis year of 1492 is because that's the year that the Caliphate palace fell in Al-Andalusia. This is why you see symbolically Michelle went there when Obama went to Egypt. Are we clear? These are signals. These are signals. So you look at these, not unlike, like say you have a flood, like this flood that took place in Texas, you know, this storm. You don't look at it as an exact date. You look at it as a pivotal date. Are we clear?
Clear.
Does that answer, or is there any other part that?
For the most part, it
This one you
did.
gave me for?
I guess because some of us still held positions in the Congress.
Oh yes. This is why, like for instance, you'll see people, Asiatics who hold position in Congress. They're really tokens. You know, and this is why you'll see them. They started what they call the Black Congressional Caucus in the Congress, because they already know that they have no political power and they're tokens. And also you can see in Rex 84 and Executive Order 11490 that in a state of emergency they don't want to seat these people anyway, which I'll show you in a second. All right. I'll show you in a second. I'll keep this in mind. In the King Alfred, how many of you familiar with King Alfred? All right, so if you're familiar with King Alfred, you already know that they say in the state of emergency, the so-called the minority Congress people will be removed from office at once. You know, they're all tokens, and they know they're tokens. Although, you'll see that the 90% of all of them are Masons and Eastern Stars.
Question, Brother Taj. The 13th Amendment and its 20 sections, you said it always try to suppress that.
Yes, they will.
Is that document, are we able to research it or get it on the internet?
Oh, sure. A lot of it they hide now. A lot of it they hide now, but I put it in the treaty book. And about 30 years ago, I got passing the documents around, went to Washington and got them out of the congressional records.
Okay.
But these are things that are known by scholars. You know, and because you're at the House of Reawakening Minds, this stuff is open because, you know, we deal with issues and information that are controversial with a lot of people. You know, meaning that we know that they duck it. But we're not here to play your head, we're here to liberate. And so we'll talk about these things and we'll give you reference. Now those of you who have the treaty book, Constitution and Treaty book, I put that in there. You know. And as soon as this file closes up, I'll go to the King Alfred or go to the treaty book and show you. Boy, you need some daggone files on this flash drive.
I wish I had brought you.
You need some folders.
Peace, is that
See.
peace and treaty friendship book? Speaking of.
We're going to, you know, we've been working with Dr. Naila for quite some time, and we're going to start doing some things to try to make a lot of the stuff available to you that has not been regularly available to you. You know, we've been putting enough time in. So, as far as the treaty book, other information like this that we might share, because actually, you know, a lot of this stuff are decades of research and work, and that's generally not available to people in general education. Though it's known by scholars and it's definitely known by nations. That's why you have people in power that always belong to secret societies and why they do Zipmet. They know this stuff too, but they will never speak this stuff publicly. Never. Under threat of death. And even when they're giving it in allegorical stories and signs and symbols. But in all their regalia, you see them wear that Moorish fez with the tassel pinned down, and then act like they don't know these people Moors. The child can figure that out.
You said in Philadelphia, you got statues of them.
Yeah, of course. You can go to what? Gettysburg, Bunker Hill, and you see all the statues there. Got fezzes and turbans. And kufis with tassels. Wow. But they'll tell dummies who don't understand, oh, they're just Frenchmen. Oh, all right. And they do a reenactment. They do a reenactment of the battles. You know, that's right. Usually every year, I forget it's Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. You know, and even when you're talking about you know, George Washington. You know, let me go to the lesson book. I'll show you. Of course, you already know. Let's see. As an example, you know, it takes place in Philadelphia every year, and that they assemble at 6 and Moore Street. You see how they do things in people's face? Because they know these people don't pay attention to the details. And they so spoofed up, they follow whatever Reverend Marchers say, not knowing that he's a 501c3 agent. Because he runs around saying Jesus or Allah, and stuff like that, so people get starry-eyed, give them their lunch money. And if you try to liberate them with the real history, they look at you like you're a sinner and all that kind of simple stuff. And you're actually throwing them a life raft.
Because, you know, as I've been studying you from YouTube for the last, since February, everything you spoken of, I've done a little of my own research and got copies off the internet, not from any Moorish directory, from like the National Archives and other places that I can have a reference that's not exactly from the Moorish nation, but is a part of the
European, tell you the truth. Do research.
And I was stunned because you kept always saying, don't believe what I say, research it and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I've done.
Because people you trust, when they start seeing you wake up, will start throwing what you call obstructions in. Oh man, that old stuff, you know. And then you do the research, and you'll find out how many people look you right in your eye. That when somebody throw a life raft at you, they pull the rope back, trying to act like they love you. This is why, like the Bible says, if your right arm offend you, cut it off. What it means, if you're unable to do that, you'll probably be lost. But some of the people you trust is actually the traitors. That's why, like the Bible says, the two be in the field, one will be taken, the other will be left. If you don't understand what that means, tough cookies.
Yeah.
Because really a child should understand that.
Exactly.
Now, see this letter from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco? This is in the treaty book, right? See that gate? Now you see he got his Masonic regalia. See that gate? Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and you know Obama talked about the Treaty of 1790, Tripoli, excuse me, and Constitution for the United States of North America, right? Now you see the letter from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco. See the date, December 1st, 1789. remember that he was appointed to that office April the 30th of that same year. So you can see that he's only in there for a matter of months before this letter takes place, right? Now read the first part of the letter from George Washington to the Sultan. Since the date of the letter which the late Congress by their President addressed your Imperial Majesty, the United States of America, I thought proper to change their government and institute a new one agreeable to the Constitution, of which I have the honor herewith to enclose a copy. So you can see the Constitution already existed, government already existed before he was assigned to the office, and clearly he was not the first president as is presented to the general populace. But the deal of it is that all scholars already know this. Now, this is a letter from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco, right? And then you talk about Moors, and these people act like they don't know who Moors are.
Same letter I pulled off on.
Oh yeah, of course, it's available.
It's available, very same.
It's available.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it's according to people's agenda. What is their agenda?
Yeah.
Now, when Obama talked about the Treaty of Tripoli, you see there? Bashar's of Tunis and Tripoli? That's what Obama was talking about.
Yeah.
What is the Tripoli?
And he said that the American Constitution comes from Muslim law. That's what he's talking about.
The war of Tripoli, was that more?
Of course, as part of your empire. When they talk about the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli,
Yeah, they say Marine.
they're talking about the Moorish Empire from this side to that side.
But I don't understand, because they were saying, someone was saying to me that the Marines, when I told them that this is Moroccan territory,
Yeah.
and they were, you know, it was like whatever.
Look, let's be
And-
clear.
and they-
Let's be
they
clear.
say that
Let's be
Tripoli
clear on this,
was
Walt.
Marine won the war.
You're telling someone who's not scholarly,
Right.
who doesn't read, that deals with belief. It's like talking to a puppy with a kitty head. You know, when your scholarship and believers don't go on the same table.
Okay.
And it's not personal, but you can't have an intelligent conversation with somebody that deals with beliefs and not facts. You wouldn't expect them to deal with facts. You know, it's like putting somebody who can't count, but he's a great believer, on the cash register of your business. Well, probably in a year, you'll probably be out of business. While you're sitting around making excuses for it.
I like the way you put it, like our ancient ancestor, Harriet Tubman. The hardest thing to do is to free a slave that don't even know.
That's what Harriet was talking about. That's what Harriet was talking about.
You don't even know, you have a clue. That's
Now, here, before the conclusion of the letter, right? See, the encouragement with which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, the punctuality with which you have caused the treaty with us to be observed, and the just and generous measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor make a deep impression on the United States and confirm their respect for and attachment to your Imperial Majesty. What do you think these dominions are? These are Moroccan dominions.
And they are attached to our dominion.
It's an appendage of the Moorish Empire. You know, so when you're talking to someone who doesn't do research or don't know history, and they're going to tell you what their beliefs are, you sit there and debate with them after all, you got two donkeys. You know, why do you think other people come from other nations don't sit and talk this kind of stuff with our people? Because we start talking about what they believe. The world doesn't operate on beliefs. It operates on knowledge. Beliefs are for children, imbeciles, and people who are unwilling to handle reality. They're called minorities, which means they got the mentality of minors. They're also called boys and girls. And so civilized people take advantage of such people that wear depends, and they call them Gucci's. And they want to get mad and march all over the damn place. Well, the world ain't got time to keep playing with these people. They're taking advantage of people who won't deal with facts. But these are the facts. And what would, a believer will sit and debate with you. You don't sit there and debate with a believer. You don't put them down, you share knowledge. But if they're not willing to deal with facts, you don't sit there and try to explain them. You don't owe them an explanation. You know, just because they want to believe, according to our belief, 2 and 2 is 3.5, because spiritually, look, stop the conversation. You don't owe them that. Truth does not need an apology. Stop making it. You understand? And too often we keep trying, you know, because these people keep claiming to know Jesus better than everybody else. They got personal relationships with Jesus. They keep going Allah better than everybody else. They keep making prayer. They keep giving Jones all their finance, and they think that brought them into some kind of spirituality that don't exist with them. Well, the world don't owe them a damn thing. They're deluding themselves. While they're deluding themselves, the world moves on. And it's been moving on, and we've been catching hell while arguing about salvation. Broken families, jail, drugs, and the IRS takes the rest of what's left. And we sit around and talk about, you know, our hypocritical selves, telling the youth how saved they are, and all they see is misery. You know, we're hypocrites, and we need to start being honest. We are hypocrites. Don't throw those shoes at me, especially on the streets. But anyway, you need to understand that the world already knows this, right? And then look at the preamble. Here's your preamble, and here's the deists. The preamble. To all persons to whom these presents shall come, or be made known, whereas the United States of America in Congress assembled by their commission bearing date the 12th day of May 1784, thought proper to constitute John Adams. Know, you heard, familiar with that name?
Yep, John Adams.
Benjamin Franklin, familiar with that name? And Thomas Jefferson, familiar with that name?
Yeah.
Their ministers plenipotentiary giving to them, or majority of them, full powers to confer, treat, and negotiate with the ambassador, minister, or commissioner of His Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco.
Wow.
Now, these people don't know who the Moors are? And whenever they see Moors, they keep calling them black, and you letting them get away with it? Stealing your birthright right in front of your face, and then having marching nigger leaders run around talking about these people are black, knowing that they ain't. And then talk about what rights they have. They ain't got no damn rights.
None.
You must be in your proper person. You see the point? So when people start pretending they don't know that this is Morocco. Now, also, let's go into the charge d'affaires, as a matter of fact. Let's see. Let me back up some. But now those of you who understand the 14th Amendment and the man of straw type thing. So this is Article 13 with its 20 sections, good brother.
20 sections.
Right here. See the 20 sections? And notice number 12. Traffic in slave with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death, and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So can the descendants of Africans or the Moors who are the heirs of the estate be U.S. corporate citizens?
No.
Unless they're stock? No, they can't be. That's what the 14th Amendment is. They made you stock in the name of Negro citizens, and our people didn't contest it. That's the 14th Amendment person.
Okay, yeah, but it's saying.
So now let's look at naturalization. Now, this is a citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. Now read the title there. This is taken directly, as a matter of fact, the typing isn't even changed. This is taken directly from the Congressional Record books. Citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. Page 459. What do you see right there in chapter 4, temporary provisions? What's the next thing you see?
Morocco.
Say it again?
Morocco.
So these people act like they don't know this land is Morocco? Now let's talk about citizenship of the United States, expatriation. Now let's look at, this is a letter to the Secretary of State. And I want you to pay attention to this. Mr. Phillip charged the affairs to Mr. Root, Secretary of State, August the 3rd, 1906. American Legation, Tangier, August the 3rd, 1906. Sir, there are strictly speaking no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon the Islamic code, no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. Turn the page. Now keep in mind the 14th Amendment as you're reading this. Page 460, citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. There are, however, numerous treaties and conventions between the various Christian countries and the Moorish Empire by means of which citizenship in this country is defined. But as I understand from the above acknowledged instructions that it is not the desire of the department to call for report upon such lines, I will therefore confine these remarks to general conditions existing which may possibly be of some use in connection with the information desired. Number one, citizenship in Morocco may be said, you need to pull this down because I want you to be able to read this in context, may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries. We talk about universal principles of citizenship. With the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure as Moorish subjects. Write that down, ipso jure. So that means as the law stands. Y'all have to excuse me because I'm sniffling because I was sanding floors and I got sawdust in my nose. Say it again?
You get your water, sir? You get your water?
Oh, no, that's not that. I'm just sniffling because I had sawdust. I was sanding the floors. Now, ipso jure means as the law stands. Now look at this, 2 and 3. Moorish subjects lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized, not nationalized, naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relations with the Moorish Empire. So you now you see where the 14th Amendment comes in?
That's how it came in.
That's the 14th Amendment.
Right here.
When we agreed to be Negroes, we lost our birthright. This is what anybody that understands the sovereign right of people are arguing against the 14th Amendment. They say, I'm not a 14th Amendment person. That's a nom de guerre, it's a straw, it is the dead. And when they're writing letters to you or bills to you, they will put it in a 14th Amendment straw. That's what the transmitting utility is, that they put on the statements of account that they're calling people bills. Or when they foreclose, they're foreclosing against the estate. Because they're what? They are administering over the Moorish Empire. You've been under occupation. And all so-called leaders know this. This is the same kind of information that French Muslim schooled Malcolm, when Malcolm went over there with that black and white stuff, and that Muslim told him, to you, Maghrib is evening prayer for Wednesday. Maghrib is Morocco, the most extreme west. Brother, you left home, come in with that black and white stuff. Rude awakening. But how many brothers and sisters know that will admit that that's one of the reasons why they murdered Malcolm? Yeah. Why? Because the leaders know this stuff too. And that's the real truth. Always have been the truth. So a lot of times when the European be saying to us, why don't you all stop messing with us, why don't you go back to your black leaders that keep selling you back into slavery. Some of what they're saying is kind of true.
I hear that's the reason why they killed Kennedy too.
Well, Kennedy, because he was going back to Article 1, Section 10, same thing that Lincoln did. He was exposing the corporate United States and the Kabbalistic operations of subverting the republic, including the hiding of the space programs, off-world operations, that they put the world back over 500 years in the unum sanctum policy, all of which he would never get out. But basically, he was countering the same thing that Lincoln was countering. And so Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy, and Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln.
What?
Yes.
So he was dealing with the World Bank too also?
Well, that's what the World Bank is part of the Vatican operations. They're all one. But the major thing that you need to know that we're talking about here is, one, when these people, whether they're so-called black marching leader guys or scholars or anyone or politicians, try to act like they don't know North America is Morocco, there you go. Charge their affairs. You understand? So now, does that have anything to do with what you believe or what you don't believe or what religion you claim? It has absolutely nothing to do with any of it. That's your pedigree, that's your blood right, that is your birthright. Cannot be sold, cannot be bought. Islam says.
So when they manipulated the dates, is it 580 years?
Yeah, 580 years. So this is where, here you go. Let's go back. Let's see what we can do here. You back this up a little bit. So when you're looking at the treaty, the signing of the treaty, what you did around 1200? Was that the right around 1200? Hold on.
Yeah, about 1200. Yeah, about 1200.
So now that's a Gregorian calendar year, and so you would simply take the 12 and then do the subtraction. And as you already know, as the Manchurians are resetting the gold standard in favor of the Asiatic nations, you already know they're also part of the reset is that they're going to correct the calendars again.
Yeah.
You know that?
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're going to correct the calendars again. So we're talking the real politics of the world.
So is there a date that we don't have to subtract the 580 to?
Well, no, you don't. No, see, this is the deal. The Gregorian calendar is really not Gregory. It's really the Egyptian calendar adjusted for the what you call leap year. So that's very it's that's a kind of a misnomer. But what they do, they introduce it so that the Asiatics can't trace history. So when they look at what you call the Hagira, or you look at the Muslim calendar, and then you look at what they call the Christian calendar, it seems to be conflict. When actually they did that so that people would not be able to do the cross-check. But all scholars already know that. So once you understand that 580, you already know how to correlate them.
Yeah.
And this is also why also in the lesson book, I put the 3 calendars in there. The Moorish calendar, the Ibri calendar, as well as the Gregorian calendar, so you can make correlative or comparisons when necessary. But the major thing with all of this, or any of this information, is to tie the people back to the land, because our people are disconnected from the land. They're on the idea that they were brought here by Europeans. They don't know they're the people of the land. You know, while everybody around them knows it. That's why they can't be deported. You know, but they don't know that. Let's see what. For those of you who might have been here, like you say, for the first time, these are the names of the candles when you see them do so-called African celebrations, and they have the candlesticks, yellow, green, and red, and then you go to church or the mosque, and they'll have the 7 golden candlesticks, or you see the circumambulation ritual when Muslims make the Hajj. These are the holy days, and all the priesthood know this, whether they're Muslim, Christian, Jew, or Mason, any PhD. Now, keep this in mind, Eloah is the name of any single day. Are we clear? Or what you call a single Lord. Elohim, that you see in the Korean Bible or any holy book, is plural. Elohim means mother, father. But the people who don't know the truth of religious philosophy are told that Elohim is God's name, masculine, singular. That's a lie. Priests know they lying to the people. Elohim means mother, father. Are we clear? All right. So they start off by miseducating the people, then seizing advantage of their naivety. All right. Sunday is the first day of the week, is ruled by the sun. The holy name of Sunday, which is also Domingo, is Michael. Are we clear? And when you see Michael struggling with the devil type thing, you're talking about Monday. Angel. Monday is the second day of the week, is ruled by the moon. The holy name of Monday, Lunes, is Gabriel. Tuesday is the third day of the week, is ruled by Mars. The holy name of Tuesday, Martes, is Zamael. Wednesday is the fourth day of the week, is ruled by Mercury. The holy name of Wednesday, Mercuris, or Raphael, is Raphael. Thursday is the fifth day of the week, is ruled by Jupiter. The holy name of Thursday, Jueves, is Sakael. Friday is the sixth day of the week, is ruled by Venus. Of course, that's your star in your flag. The holy name of Friday, Verenus, is Anael. In some cultures, they call her Hana, with an H, Hanael. 7. Saturday is the seventh day of the week, is ruled by Saturn. The holy name of Saturday, Sabato, is Kasael. A day is the period of sunlight between dawn and nightfall, and is at that time or interval existing from sunrise to sunset. The word holy is derived from the ancient Sanskrit word halig, which means whole, and sun. A week is the period or measurement of 7 successive days. The word day is derived from the word degree and relates to the 24 hours period during which the earth completes one full rotation upon its axis. This is called a solar day. The 7 days philosophically have holy names and are ruled or governed by 7 major stars or 7 planets in our solar system. These attributes or holy names have been passed down to us from our ancient foremothers and forefathers. In harmony with the divine order of nature. Each singular day is called an Eloah. The 7 days or 7 stars together as one are called Elohim, expressive of the mother-father principle, and applies to the 7 singular Eloah in their plural form and in their cyclical oneness. The ancient cosmos sciences involving the 7 days have been traditionally taught to neophytes and scholars alike, and are represented in the circumambulate heaven symbolisms, being a part of the ancient and modern mystical schools of higher learning. The same philosophies are infused within many religious rituals and ceremonies, and poignantly characterized by way of the symbolic displays of 7 golden candlesticks. This same symbolism is traditionally expressed by the circumambulation rituals, which are demonstrable of the various religious Asiatic, African, archaic cultures. Eloah is derived from the ancient Moabite Hebrew word El, which has been presented to the natural peoples of the earth as God. The Hebrew, which is the proper, names El and Eloah means God, being synonymous. El and Eloah are singular relative by fact and by definition. Now, all priests, anybody who studies religion, knows that that's what them 7 candlesticks represent. You already know, and we don't have to argue, that the average person in a mosque, church, and synagogues are not taught this. Some of them in some synagogues, but in the general houses, they're not taught this. They're all spooked up, got attitudes of self-righteousness, and don't even know what them rituals that they're doing even represent. It's not negative, they're just not educated. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so this is part of the cosmos science. And just like when you see it in Koran Bible, Septuaginta, any of the holy books, in one way or another, we say, I'll leave these signs for you, the sun, the moon, the stars. And you'll see, no matter what so-called religion, so-called, I say that, they will always measure their holy days or the days of the sun, what you call whole holidays, by the movement of the moon. Because it's the most operative transit that takes place every couple hours. And so it has the most influence. And so when you deal with the Passover, Easter, you understand, all your holy days, they were looking at the movement of the moon. Even when they do Ramadan, movement of the moon. You know, and then these same people turn around and talk about it ain't got nothing to do with cosmology. They're lying their butts off. You see, so once you tell the people the truth about the forces of nature, and that this stuff is written in the heavens, it has nothing to do with what you believe, you understand? This is what it means that the sun shines on the good as well as the evil. So don't get it twisted. You don't own no God principle. It's neutral. Once you understand that, get rid of your arrogance, love one another because it's right to do, not because you're trying to prove something or you're trying to get tacky. You know, do right because it's right to do. But the deal of it is, in general, what we're saying is, if you teach the people the things that the priesthood already know and ain't telling them, it will liberate them from the priesthood. Then the priesthood can't rape them no more. Then they got to do one thing, and that is this. They got to tell them the truth or leave them alone. And this is, again, like we said earlier, we're saying now, we share this information to liberate you. You know, and also we try to show you certain things so that you recognize, not because we say so, that people in scholarship and in politics already know this. They just ain't telling you. And they feed you a whole bunch of emotional BS to control you and then to rape you. You know, and when you study Yahushua, because at the Nicene Council they changed his name to Jesus, which is really for Zeus, for the Roman god Zeus, to really hide the history. And this is why you see him arguing with the priesthood who was altering the law, and the priesthood who was stealing the widow's pennies. And now they're getting all the widow's pennies, talking about they're giving it to God, and people believe it. And these people are criminals, absolutely criminals, and they're hiding behind Jesus, a la Moses and Muhammad. And so to free the common people, you gotta give them the knowledge that the priesthood have. You don't give them no belief, you give them the facts. What they do with it, then now they're responsible. You know, but again, they don't have to be ignorant. And our people are destroyed by the day for a lack of knowledge. So what we try to do is share knowledge and not emotionalism, because this platform is not for emotionalism, it's not for belief, it's for knowledge, because people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And people are screwing them because they don't know what's up. So what we're trying to do is make sure they know what's up. Once they know what's up, you know, put it this way, they can't keep on wrinkling.
You gotta catch a train in this 1251.
I know I was so churchy for years. Lost that thing. Real.
I hope we do some good, man.
John,
Excuse me.
if we're catching the train,
Oh, we gotta roll, y'all. Anyway, want to thank you all for coming out to the House of Great Awakening Minds, etc. Dr. Naila, can you share a poem with us? I know you got one right on.
no, we ain't got time.
Next time.
Next
All right.
time.
Next week, Brother Abdullah, be here.
Next week.
Yeah, that's every other, you know,
But I
so
do have my book there
everything
if
be
you
going
want
on, man. I'm
to
telling
get
you.
a book.
But you know,
Slave.